Shalom and good day all, this is Tehillim29 back again for another free comic book day review, and in this free comic book day review I'll be covering Kaiju number 8 and last but not least Sakamato Days. Now the order I've done this in, or how I've got it prepared, is that I'll be covering Kaiju number 8 first and then I'll be covering Sakamato Days, because with this one it's not like the One Dance and the other one, that whether by the time you actually see it on the channel or not, this one is completely different, because this one has Kaiju number 8 first, followed by Sakamato Days that follows afterwards. So I'll jump into first things first, and that is the cover. Does this cover in any way, shape or form connect to something that happens inside of the story? Sure enough it does, to which I give it an 8 out of 10. I'll now show you some of the internal art around the beginning, middle and end, as well as having somewhat a look in regards to what's happening with the story. So this is some of the art around the beginning of the story, and I must admit I really quite like the art in this story. And in it we learned of the characters called, I think it's Ichikawa and I think it's Kafka or something like that. And these cast of characters do appear within this. We also know that it takes place in Japan, and you also have the Japan Defense Force, and this is somewhat connected to that. I'll now jump towards the middle, and as we jump towards the middle, I think you'll find that in some essence that for some people this might actually remind you a little bit like Fire Force in regards to the story. Just a different cast of characters. And last but not least, towards the end of the story, to which we get to meet one of the female characters, to which I don't believe we got her name in this. So I'll use this area as the midway point before I move into Sakamato Days. For the internal art, I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. Now it's time to move into the story rating, to which in the cast of characters, as I brought up before, we end up meeting someone by the name of Ichikawa, and I think the other one I believe is Kafka. I could be incorrect on that, and I'm willing to accept correction. The location it takes place in is in Japan, and we also encountering the Japanese Defense Force. We do get a somewhat a time period which I did not actually expect to get in this, as to when a certain amount of events occurred, and the time period that came up in this was 10 days. Now I'm not too sure if it was meant to be 10 days later or 10 days before. It wasn't really specific, but overall I gave the story rating a 7.5 out of 10. Now moving into Sakamato Days, and as you can see here, this is the cover for Sakamato Days, to which I gave it an 8 out of 10. I'll now start to move towards some of the internal art in relation to the story, to which we'll get to see some around the beginning, middle and end, of course. So we finally get something on the beginning, well, in this page, and we get to meet up with Sakamato, and we're talking. He seems to be talking to a complete stranger here, and I've got no idea who he is, but we also learned that he has a daughter called Hannah. As we jump towards the middle of the story, as we can see, some type of event comes up, which he is in somewhat of a bit of a hurry. I'll now move towards the end, and last but not least, towards the end of the story. So for the internal art, I gave it a 7 out of 10. Now it's time to move in relation to the story, to which in the story we had a cast of characters, of course Sakamato and of course Hana. One thing we didn't get in the story was the location as to where this is taking place, but overall I gave it a story rating of 7 out of 10. Well, until then, I really hope you enjoyed this review. Let's keep it colourful and have yourself an awesome day.